Any trouble tightening the nuts on that lovely, gorgeous fillet?
No, socket cap head screws are pretty narrow, or if you want to use a bigger hex head, you can barely slid into the weld with a cutoff wheel.
What calculation do you do to take the exact center?
Sorry, in that last video there was a glare right here. So to find the center, you just get the overall width, 2.31. We'll round up to 2.32. And then just divide that by 2. So it gives you 1.16. And then just get it pretty close. You don't need to get it perfect. Tighten that little lock screw down. Scribe from both sides. And then just split the difference. Or on square parts or rectangle parts, you can just do diagonals like this. This will get you pretty close.
Use a constant tension hose clamp?
That was a really good topic to bring up. These ones are called constant tension hose clamps because when the hose gets old and softens, these will still put on a constant tension, whereas worm drives like this style, which I used in the video at the end, when you tighten it down, it's tight, but if the hose gets warm and soft, then this is a fixed circumference and it's not holding as tight, so you have to come back and check it. And this truck, it was an '01 Ram, and it had these on the big radiator hoses, but it didn't have it on the water neck. I'm assuming somebody worked on it and either lost it or broke it and put on the cheap ones. And all I had here was just these cheaper ones, so I put it on tight, and then I'm just going to check it later, in a week or two, make sure it's still tight. But these are the best way to go. The two downfalls to these cheaper style ones, these worm drives, is they can get over tightened really easy and break. And say this was on a hose, if your hose gets softer and breaks in hotter temperatures, then the clamp's not tightening down as tight as it used to be, and you have to come recheck it, whereas those other ones just keep clamping down tight, if that makes sense. Yeah, so watch how easy this one will break if you over tighten it. It'll start stripping out. Oh. Hear that click? So now this clamp's junk after it did that. It's stripped out. But this is the style that I had, so it's what I use, and I was just mindful of not over tightening it. I'll probably check it in a week or two.
Is that a hand control for the argon? Seems like it was always coming on.
This isn't just an argon control, it's called a TIG button, and it replaces the foot pedal. So it's just like a foot pedal, the harder you press, the more heat you get, but there's no moving parts, and it runs through a control box. So yes, it does control the argon, but it just turns it off and on when it senses the slightest amount of pressure, just like a foot pedal. And I use this in probably 90% of my videos. I love it, and I sell them on my website if you're interested.
When marking the blue lines, what tool were you using to hold the pen in place?
So this is called a Machinist's surface gauge, and then all I did was get a little hose clamp and tack weld the washer on it on each side of the head, so you can just use your hand to unscrew it. And then I use the same thing too with the compass when I'm laying out circle patterns. Just tighten that up.
The only thing that comes of this is people continue to weld with a contaminated tungsten instead of sharpening it. Just sharpen a pack of electrodes and do it on both ends. Now you have 20 tips. Then you only need to sharpen once a day.
Okay, that comment was regarding a video I made quite a while back about my tungsten grinder location in the shop. So when you accidentally touch the tungsten, you contaminate it, you got to regrind it. And I like it to not be right here, easily accessible. I have it way over here on the other side of my mill. You can see the grinding wheel right here. Because it's nice to get up off your butt and walk around and stretch every once in a while if you're a desktop welder like I usually do. And then he said to grind each side and get a bunch of them sitting here, so you'd only need to grind them once a day. But I do not recommend grinding both sides because, here I'll show you. Okay, let's say you got a piece of tungsten in with both sides sharpened. And you're welding along and you dork it and stuff the tungsten in on accident like we all do from time to time. So you go to pull that out and turn your tungsten around, and you got a bunch of aluminum on there that's can sometimes be slightly wider than the diameter of the tungsten. It's on the outside here. So you flip that around, and now you're cramming that bigger diameter up into your collet body, and you got to force it past it. So now what you're doing is wearing out your collet body on your torch. And if you guys have problems with your collet body sticking and not having your tungsten slide easily, then that might be your problem. So I never sharpen both sides. You know, I don't disagree with getting 10 of them sharpened on one side and laying them on your bench, getting them ready for the day, but I don't know about doing both sides. That seems bad to me. Okay, thanks for watching. This video has been quite a bit different than the normal ones where I don't talk and I just show you kind of point of view what I'm doing. But if you like this type of video, let me know in the comments or give me a thumbs up, and maybe I can do one like this every week or two. I get a bunch of comments. There's endless content to do stuff like this, so let me know. TIG buttons available for purchase on my website. And I'll leave a link below for this on Amazon. It's once again, it's a Machinist surface gauge. I use it all the time for, you know, marking stuff with the Sharpie clamp to it, or you can use it as a third arm to put pressure down on stuff to hold it in place if it's wobbling while you're trying to weld.